anyone tries to tell me that I'm past my prime and, oh no, high value men aren't gonna want you, I don't want them anyway. My name's Lauren Harkins, and I'm a virgin at 35. Did I set out to become a virgin at 35? No, not necessarily. But did I also not set out to become this way? No, not necessarily. I absolutely believe in a higher power, but I'm not a religious person, and I don't believe in religious ideology. I also don't really have significant trauma to speak of. My parents were divorced, but like two of the most stable people that I've ever met in my entire life, and I'm really grateful for that. Neither of my parents tried to convince me to like pursue this lifestyle. My dad was really big on being intentional about making good choices. I definitely heard a lot of times growing up that like men are pigs, leading me to believe that like you have to be discerning about who you share your energy with. But I definitely didn't have parents that were like super strict. Funny enough, I actually had a YouTube channel about 10 years ago where I talked about being asexual. I thought that I was asexual at that time. There was also a part of me when I was making those videos that knew if the right person were to come along that I wouldn't be a virgin anymore, that I wouldn't be considering myself asexual. I'm sorry, honey. It was a term at the time that resonated because I found it easier to explain my situation by slapping a label on it. I liked the succinctness of it. I liked being able to, you know, just kind of like say this and like kind of get people, you know, leave me alone about it. But now it's so interesting because when people try to label me like one way or another, telling me that like I'm asexual and this and that, I hate that because I know that that's like not the case. And I also don't want to be aligned with any community. That's just like not me. I'm not a community person. I don't wish to have like affiliations with any like sort of group of people. That's just like not what I want. Like it's not me. I'm not gay. I've never been attracted to a woman in my life. Is it possible that I'm like, if there is a spectrum, that I'm on the asexuality spectrum or the demisexuality spectrum or whatever? I guess that's possible, but that's not like my terminology. That's not the language that I use. I like to think for myself. I like to move on my own. People are so quick to want to slap a label on someone like me or stereotype me. And I like being someone that they can't do that to. I like that no matter what they try to throw at me for a reason as to why I am the way that I am, that I can easily shut that down with the truth. A lot of people think that I am lying by talking about being a virgin in my 30s. And intuitively, I believe that that is, and also because I've kind of been able to decipher from comments and things in the past, people don't think that I act like a virgin. I find that so strange because I'm like, what do you think a virgin acts like? Do you think because I look the way that I look that I am not capable of holding off? I know that it's because of the way that I look. I know that it's because of the way that I present myself. And good. I want to smash stereotypes. People call me a liar. I'm like, you know, I take that as a compliment. You think I'm lying? That means that what I am putting out is not lining up with your limited worldview. That's a good thing. I don't want to like feed into your stereotypes. I don't want to feed into like what you think I should be. I want to show that a decent looking, well-read, intelligent, emotionally evolved, emotionally stable, socially developed person can still make this choice and it not be for any reason other than it hasn't felt right yet. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me. And people can say what they're gonna say. I really don't care at the end of the day. I'm very used to standing on my own 2 feet and not letting outside noise influence me, obviously. Peer pressure's never done anything for me. I do what feels right for me. And I'm always going to do that. Back to like middle school, high school. My last kind of like high school crush was probably like when I was 15. I kissed some guys in high school, mostly guy friends for fun. I think once the stakes got higher and once I got more like mature, I realized this is not something that I want to be involving myself with at this time in my life. I definitely always felt more like emotionally mature than a lot of people my age, and I don't mean that in like any type of way, but for me, like I always felt like I did have a level of awareness or an awareness of self that was beyond what other people my age were experiencing. And just like playing the long game, I always felt like I had to be aware of the choices that I was making in order to not like fuck up my life in the future. I was terrified of like teen pregnancy, STDs. Like there ain't no way I was gonna be having sex as a teenager. It was not happening. My dad did pass away when I was 16, and that was obviously like a very defining point in my life. It just made me really focus on like the future even more so, and like you know, not settling for a life that I didn't want. Very few men that I was attracted to were like way older. Celebrity crushes, for example, were like older. I never liked guys that were my age, like at all. But then in my 20s too, like that's kind of when I became aware of like the term asexual, and I clung to that really heavily. Flash forward to today, I mean, I'm 35 now. I've had like maybe 2 crushes in the real world, but they haven't been my people. I know they haven't been my people. I can intuitively sense that. That's why I get so annoyed when people say, oh, you just pick a nice boy. I'm like, ew. I think I'm just gonna like pick one off the street. To me, the feeling has to be there, the connection has to be there, and it has to be very strong on all levels. I have to connect to you emotionally, spiritually, physically. That's very important to me since I don't experience attraction often. And when I do, it's because I also feel like an emotional connection as well, usually. I can appreciate an attractive man. That's fantastic, but there's a difference between being like, oh, like it's a good looking guy, and like, oh, I want to do something about it. And I think a lot of people lack the latter of those skills to discern between the two. Just because you can doesn't mean that you should. Like, I definitely have a sense of what I'm looking for, but I'm also not looking at the same time. This is a very like rebuilding time in my life for me, a very transitional, weird time right now where I'm like establishing myself in the world. I also feel like the lack of attraction is maybe like a subconscious protective mechanism, and has been that for many years, because it's allowed me to focus on myself and what I want out of life instead of getting tangled the fuck up in someone else. I truly think that I've always wanted to establish myself first, get to where I need to be for myself first in the world in order to be able to attract the kind of partner that I want. I'm very vocal about not wanting a hometown boy. There's nothing wrong with a hometown boy, don't get me wrong, but I am not trying to get locked into this life that I have lived for my whole life. I've always wanted to make a really big impact and live the life I've wanted to live out my goals, live out my dreams. If you think I'm gonna do that with Joe Schmo, you're dead wrong. Like, I'm not doing that. With that being said, I don't want to get married. I don't want to have kids. I would never enter into a traditional marriage. I don't believe in marriage. I think marriage is very outdated. Would I consider myself a feminist in 2026? No, I would not. But I'm also not about that traditional life. I don't want to be a wife. I don't want to be a mother. I would absolutely do a committed long-term relationship if I met someone that like really blew me away and like the connection was insane. There's just no way that I would ever settle for a life I don't want with a man I don't want. I would literally rather die a virgin, and I mean this wholeheartedly. I would rather die a virgin than be with someone just to be with someone because like, oh no, I need to do this. Like, I'm not one to like back down or do something that I don't feel is right for me because it's what everyone else is doing. Very in tune with what I know is right for me, and romantic love has not been right for me throughout this time in my life. Would I like to experience this, like being in a relationship with like the man of my dreams? Yes, I would like that. But am I actively looking for it? No, it's not a priority for me. I'm also not someone who's like entirely convinced that there's one person for everyone, but I'm not gonna do something with any old dude just because I'm scared of like not having an experience. I'd rather not have the experience than settle for a mediocre, subpar experience. I made the mistake of going on some red pill men's dating talk podcasts in the past, thinking like the exposure is good and like, oh, the audience is gonna love me. They love virgins. Oh no, girl, they don't. They like meek and weak women. Let's be very clear about that. I'll save that one for another day, but I enjoy talking about this online. I've never felt awkward or embarrassed or like cringe talking about this. I hope in doing so that I can inspire others that like, it's really not that bad. There's literally nothing. There's nothing. And I know it really hurts the people who want to hurt me, but there is nothing that anyone could say to me that would make me feel bad about these choices I have made for myself. I'm very, very self-led as a person. I don't defer to other people for what my life is gonna look like, and I never would, because 99.9999999% of the time, I don't want what their lives look like anyway. I trust myself. And I would encourage more people to trust themselves as well. It's time that adult virginity had a new face. This is a very small part of like who I am. It doesn't ever really come up in my day-to-day life. At the same time, like I'm not scared of losing this as my identity. Like, yes, I've made a platform from this. These are the videos that, you know, have performed the best for me. But no, I'm not scared of losing this. This is my entry. It is not my final form. It is not my forever state. So that's me. More to come.